Good morning. Welcome to News Express. My name is Sophia Rizardo.
And I'm Valeria, and today we'll be talking about the Marshall Plan.
The economy of many nations was ruined, and starvation and political problems aroused in the years following World War II. Industrial and residential centers in England, France, Germany, Italy, Poland, Belgium, and elsewhere lay in ruins. The only major problem in the world that was not significantly damaged was the United States. For that reason, the past June, the Secretary of State, George C. Marshall, proposed the European Recovery Program, also known as the Marshall Plan, to give European nations American aid and to rebuild the economies. The Marshall Plan was intended to rebuild the economies and spirits of Western Europe. Marshall was convinced the key to restoration of political stability lay in the revitalization of national economies. Furthermore, he saw political stability in Western Europe as a key to blunting the advances of communism in that region. Although the Marshall Plan was offered to the Soviet Union and its satellite nations, the Soviets rejected it and developed their own economic program. This action further separated Europe into competing regions. The Marshall Plan pumped billions of dollars in supplies, machinery, and food into Western Europe. The region's recovery weakened the appeal of communism and opened new markets for trade.
And now we'll be showing you a short informative video about the Marshall Plan.
The greatest example of U.S. public diplomacy done right in history. The more you learn about World War II, the more you realize how incredibly destructive it was, beyond a measure that we can even think about now. You have to look at the photographs in order to see the destruction of the roads, the homes, the factories, all of the industries in certain parts of the European countries, completely destroyed to the extent that they couldn't even rebuild themselves. As a result, some very wise people in the government, George C. Marshall, the Secretary of State, of course, who had been a general in the war, and the president at the time, Truman, made the decision that in order to rebuild Europe, that would be in the interest of the United States, not only because Europe has always been an important partner to the United States, but also because this seemed to be a pivot point in history, a time in which, if there was no assistance to help rebuild Europe, then other systems of government might come in.
The whole situation is critical in the extreme. But there's no doubt whatever in my mind that if we decide to do this thing, we can do it successfully. And there's also no doubt in my mind that the whole world hangs in the balance as to what it is to be in connection with what we're endeavoring to put forward here. Thank you.
For that reason, as well as others, the United States dedicated a significant portion of its own federal budget to help rebuild Europe.
Nations, including Germany, became part of the program and shaped the system they required, state by state, with administrative and technical assistance prior to the Economic Cooperation Administration of the United States. The nation received nearly $13 billion in aid, which initially resulted in shipments of food, staples, fuel, and machinery from the United States, and later resulted in investment in industrial capacity in Europe. Marshall Plan funding will end in 1951. Marshall Plan nations were assisted greatly in their economic recovery. Hopefully, European countries will grow at unprecedented rates. Trade relations led to the formation of the North Atlantic Alliance. Economic prosperity led by coal and steel industries helped to shape what we know now as the European Union.
Up next is my co-anchor with some interviews about the Marshall Plan.
Do you think it was a good idea?
Well, yeah, but at the same time, I was afraid of how it might affect the United States.
I understand. Do you think it was effective?
Yeah.
What other solutions can you suggest for helping Europe's economy?
Well, I would suggest, to prevent wars.
Thank you. It was very helpful. Good afternoon. Do you mind if I ask you a few questions about the Marshall Plan?
No, not at all.
Do you believe that the United States should be helping Europe?
Yes, because the United States was part of the war.
Do you think the United States should always be helping other nations?
No, and that the United States is part of the problem.
Good. That's very smart. Have any other thoughts about the Marshall Plan?
No.
Thank you. Back to you, Sophia.
Thank you, Valeria, and thank you for watching. This has been News Express. We'll be back after this. Vamos a dar action!
Thank you, Sophia. Here we have. Ahí se supone que digas tu nombre. But, como que, sí, como que here we have. Thank you, Sophia. Do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
No.
Yo voy a espera, yo voy a
En pasado. Como que, do you think it was a good idea? Yo lo dije bien.
Bruh.
Thank you, Sophia. Do you mind if we ask you a few questions?
No.
Here we have.
Darlene.
Well,
You mind? Ay, no puedo.
Hagan eso, hagan ejercicios.
Gabriel. Okay, no puedo texto y luego pensar que Dios se está muriendo. Okay. Morning.
and shape the assistance.
Okay, ya go.